apologise for any frustrations that have come up in the last week or so. There were reasons for my decision to go online this year. For the last 2 years, we've held in-person meetings, and again, always open to suggestions and feedback, and we receive feedback all the time. And there were a couple of things. So, feedback that we received was that some of the parents felt that the presentations that were being shared in these meetings was information that they were getting on the website anyway by the presenters themselves. If they were parents that were wanting to come to a specific trip and that trip was only being presented at the end, they had to wait an hour before that was being presented. So in an attempt to try and fix those sort of things, I thought that if we created one space where people could branch out and go and visit trips that they wanted to find more information out about, it would be an easy platform. I was wrong, and I apologise. So we will go back to the drawing board for next year, and we will probably do in-person straight away next year, and we'll work through that. So again, thank you for coming. My name is Ivan Forbes. I'm the activities coordinator for DAA. I work with K all the way to 12, and one of the big, obviously, jobs that I have is facilitating both a week without walls for the middle school and the HSC week for the high school. Just to give you a brief breakdown of what we are going to do today. So please understand that tonight is not a presentation evening, all right? All the information that you have on the website is the same thing that presenters will be presenting to you tonight. But we received a huge amount of questions, both locally and internationally, that we will cover tonight. And then what we're going to do at the end is we're going to invite you to meet with our providers. They are here, and ask questions that potentially are not answered in our presentation this evening. We will also obviously go through the next steps, just in terms of timelines, from when your forms will go live, which will be tomorrow evening at 8:30, to when you have to pay, or when you can expect to get those confirmations of trips, and then the deposits. And then, as I say, we'll invite you to the provider stalls. Just quickly, obviously our providers, again, as mentioned on the website, we have 4 local options that we work with here in terms of overnight trips. Again, one of the questions that came out was that we aren't presenting our local options, so trips, or not trips, but activities that are based in Dubai, and the reason for that is that information that you would receive on the website is everything that you would require or get here. And that if there were any other questions that you had for those providers, the email addresses for them are on those little blurbs on the Week Without Walls website. So we have divers down who will be stationed outside the door here to the right at the end, but I'll explain that again at the end. Absolute Adventures, who are our grade 7 overnight, but local overnight trips, and they will be on the 2nd floor, so out those doors at the top there. It's alright, but again I'll explain it to you. Bear Grylls, they are outside the 1st floor, just as you walk in towards the stairs to go back down. They'll have a base over there. And then Challenging Adventures. Unfortunately, Challenging Adventures cannot be here, but we have a couple of teachers that have attended that trip that will speak to that for any grade 6 parents that are wanting information on it. Then our 2 international providers are Lush Escapes and TEDx. So Lush Escapes are hosting the majority of our international trips this year. I think they have 9 out of the 10 trips that we are offering. And then TEDx is offering the Sri Lanka trip. Lush Escapes are based on 2 levels, and they are in the classrooms. So grade 8s will be on the 1st floor classrooms just as you enter the elementary school, and then the grade 7s on the 2nd floor as you enter the 1st floor of the high school. And TEDx are just based, as you walk up the stairs, they've got a station just there. So, the next steps, alright, so again, I apologise for the frustrations caused to date. One of the big things that we needed to adhere to is the deposit. So, I'll go through what we can expect. So, tomorrow you obviously have your back to school night, and forms have been sent. Have they been sent, or will they be sent tomorrow? Tomorrow. So forms will be sent through crew classes for parents to fill in and submit. All right, that'll happen tomorrow, or they'll be on Wednesday. They have to be submitted. On the 10th, registration goes live at 8:30. So we're giving you the opportunity to get home from back to school night, and then the trips will go live. I will close registration on the 12th, so it only gives you 2 days, and I apologise for that, but again, I'll explain to you why that is. We are going to confirm those trips on Monday the 16th, and then give you till the 20th of September to make deposits. Right, and again, it's a very quick turnaround and request that they give us obviously prices going forwards to the following year. So our trips take place in February. My planning starts in March for the following year. So when they come back with their quotations, it's based on the current prices. Now, if I wait a week or even 2 weeks after that, those prices jump significantly up because the new travel season starts. Airlines obviously have new prices, hotels have new prices for their accommodation. So to secure the prices that I've given you on the website, we have to adhere to that timeline. Then the final payment is due only at the end of November. But again, those are important dates to remember. Everything there can be found on the website itself. And if you have any questions or concerns about it, please, my email address is on the website, but you'll have a way to find me. Again, my name is Ivan Forbes, so i.forbes_DAA, you know the rest of that email address. So, we are going to go through quite a few questions tonight, alright? If we don't touch on anything that you have a question to, please scan the QR code and fill in the form and supply those questions. Whether we get to them tonight or within the next 2 days, obviously before you make your final decision, we'll try and get those answers to you. Also, before we carry on, obviously the questions will be provided to everyone. Obviously those families that are online today, we welcome you to that as well. Unfortunately, you will not have access to the outside providers and their answers to questions that the attendees will be able to ask. But again, on the website itself, all of our providers' email addresses are there. If you have specific questions for them, please reach out to them. They are very welcoming and obviously want to give answers as best as they can. Anything that you want to say before I carry on? Anything?
Evening everyone, how are you doing? Hello everybody online there. I'm Shane McGarvey, one of our 2 middle school assistant principals here in Dubai American Academy Middle School. Also joining us is Miss Badakian, our Dean of Students, and Miss Moore, our other assistant principal. Thank you for taking the time to join us here tonight, whether that's in person or virtually online there. Yeah, so as Mr. Forbes has mentioned there, we're going to run through some of the frequently asked questions that we've had. We put out a form last week where you had the opportunity to ask some of those questions. So we've answered the general questions for the next part of this session here. So we're hoping that we'll touch on many of the questions that you may have. There are some provider-specific questions as well. So what we're going to do there is I think each provider will only get the list of questions that they have for their particular trip. And I think we can put that up on the website as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that, you know, that website after this evening, so later on this week, that will be your one-stop shop for all of the information that you will need. Whether that is a general question or whether it is a trip-specific question for wherever that trip may be where you want to send your child.
So also, I'm not sure how many of you have made or have viewed the frequently asked questions on the website at the moment. So I have updated them the last 2 or 3 days with questions that we have received, and some of them we will go through this evening. So bear with me if you have already seen them. But just so that we are clear, right? So one of them is regarding about staying at school. What are the times for activities? How can we get the T-shirt? Okay, T-shirt is one of the most important things for our kids. Okay, and everyone will get a T-shirt in their crew before the week without walls. So the timings are the same as school. If they choose not to travel and they are at school, whether that's with school stay or they are at Stay Fit, one of those activities. They run the same times as our school day, so they're expected to be at school before 8 o'clock, and then they will be back at pickup time for 3 o'clock. So obviously that caters for anyone catching the bus. They will make the bus back.
Another thing there on the t-shirts for both the school stay experience and the ES volunteering experience, there will be a cost there for those t-shirts. So it'll be cost price for those t-shirts there. In the past, for our school stay experience, there was a 200 dirham cost associated with it, and the lunch was a part of that. What we've decided to do this year is we've taken away that 200 dirham so that, you know, your child can bring whatever money or bring their Apple Pay or their card so that they can get whatever lunch that they want themselves, and then should they want the t-shirt, that will be added into the,
about 30 dirham.
Yeah, about 30 dirham, so that will be added into the cost as well there. So there will be a minimal cost for ES volunteering or the school stay experience if your child would like to have the t-shirt.
Amazing, thank you. We noticed that providers like Courtyard, Playhouse, and Meraki Art were not present on the We've Got Walls online fair. Right, so those are the online or the local options, right? So Top Chef is not there as well, they weren't presenting. Again, we want to get information to you on the overnight trips specifically. The information that is on the website really does cover the itineraries of the local options. As I mentioned just now, on the website itself, all of the email addresses for any of the providers are given there. And again, they are waiting for those emails so that they can answer questions better than I can. I'll get you the answers if you bring this to me, but if you want to get first-hand knowledge, that's the space to get it for. Yes, ma'am. So I've linked it. It's a Google website site. I can definitely arrange that for you by the end of this evening. I'll put a QR code up for it so that you can have that. Absolutely. It is on Spots. So if you have access to Spots, it's on the middle school newsletter as well. Yeah, so there are links to this, but I will share it with you this evening.
So for those of you at home, so that was what is the link to the Week Without Walls website. So what we'll do is we'll create a QR code and we will share it again at the end of the presentation. So it's there for everybody to get this evening, if you haven't had the opportunity to see it yet.
Perfect, thank you. Just with regards to day trips, Monday to Friday, please clarify. So our day trips do run Monday to Friday, so whether it is Stay Fit or Top Chef or one of the providers where you come to school, Al Boom also, you would get to school in the morning, the provider would collect you on a bus, they would take you to the venue, you will do the activity, and then you'll be brought back in the afternoon again before 3 o'clock for buses to go. The only one that does not run for a full week is the first aid course. That is only a 2-day option. And then what we've happened in the past is that for the alternative 3 days, a lot of the students join the school stay option for the remainder of that week. Selecting first, second, and third choices. All right. So again, when we ask that you select 3 options, just because we want to balance groups as best as we can. Obviously, from a gender perspective, we want to balance and get an even number of male and female students to go. And where high school is first come, first serve. All right. We don't have the same sort of option for our middle school. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
It's actually coming up in a question that'll come in there now, so we can talk to it. Yeah.
Perfect.
There we go. So assigning trips is the first come, first serve. So first serve, and there is a strong rationale behind that. So we always endeavour to give the students their first choice. We always endeavour to do that, but obviously there needs to be a backup there, so we do have a second and third choice. There are, depending on the trip caps, so we may have 50 students who would like to go on the Nepal trip this year, for example. However, we max all trips at 30 students, and we don't do more than 1 trip to a particular destination. Okay, so we may have 50 students who have Nepal as their first trip. Unfortunately, that will mean that there will be 20 students at least who will be disappointed that they don't get that trip. So that's another reason why it's not first come, first serve. We need to balance our gender. Group dynamics is another reason for it, okay? So we are sending students on an airplane to another part of the world. For some of them, it'll be the first time that they have been away from their families, and that can cause a bit of a challenge. So we want to make sure that anybody who we do send on a trip has the self-management skills and understands the challenges of being on an international trip and away from their family. So we want to make sure that we've got the correct group dynamics there, so that students who are on those trips will make good choices while they are on those trips. So that we know our students very well, we have a strong focus here on the well-being of our students, and we feel that we can help place students on a trip that would be appropriate for them. Inclusivity, we want to make sure that everyone has the option of going on different trips there. So we do know that with middle schoolers, if my friend is going on a trip and all of my other friends are going on a trip, I'm going to want to go on that trip. Okay? But that might be the best thing for that particular group of friends. Okay, so we want to make sure that other students who would like to go on a particular trip have the opportunity to go on that trip as well. Behaviour is another thing that we consider when we look at our different group dynamics and the different trip options that students can go on. It's certainly a factor there. And then time constraints and form submission. Okay, so we do understand that when the form is open, we will have families who will be there waiting to click on at 8:30 to get their child's trip choice. However, we do also have families whose parents are working abroad, who may have internet issues, there may be different concerns there, and we want to make sure that everybody has equal opportunity to get their trip choices down. So that is another rationale why we don't do first come, first serve in the middle school. And in general, it has worked very, very well. For us in the past number of years, that's how we've done it. It has worked very, very well. It does take a bit of time on our end to ensure that our students are placed appropriately, and there is a bit of communication there between ourselves and families at times, but it is something that has worked very well in the past.
Yes. No, the cap is 30. Okay, the cap is 30. Yeah, 20 is our minimum number, so they give us our quotations on a minimum of 20 learners, but we cap it at 30. So 30, yeah. So ultimately, sorry to interrupt you, Sean. I think that's why we asked for 3 choices ultimately. So we would love to give them their first choice, but sometimes it doesn't work out like that. Now, just to get on that point, I just had the high school submit forms on Friday, and I had a number of students, I'm assuming the students filled in those forms and not parents, because I had Finland. So for all 3 choices. Now that makes my life hugely difficult because I don't know what the other choices are. If they don't get onto the trip, that's a conversation I'm opening up there, which is fine, I'm happy to do it. But it is a frustration for that. But to answer your point, if then number 1 choice is divers down, for instance, and their second choice is Alboom, chances are they'll go into the Alboom option. Just because our cap has been reached for the 30.
So for those online, the question is, if there is a cap of 30 and there are 35 students who want to do a particular trip, how do we choose? Unfortunately, we will have students who will be disappointed. That's the way of it. We don't guarantee first choices for any of these trips. Here's some of the factors that are in play when we do make those decisions. However, I suppose as a family and as parents, what we would hope from you is you support us in helping your child build that resilience there, and the fact that there are times when you do get disappointments, and there's a strong possibility that their second or third choice may be a far better experience than for the first choice that they had. We can't guarantee anybody that they get their first or second choice. It's not first come, first serve. That is not what we're doing.
I saw another hand there. Yes. So they only have one overnight option at Challenging Adventures. Pardon? Yes, I apologise. Those two, yes.
If you're not going to do first come, first serve, I don't understand how you can make a choice. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Because there wasn't like Canada versus selection is random.
So they're asking whether or not the selection is random, or if it is based, if there are elements of first come, first serve, absolutely.
Well, it's getting the correct balance, is what we're trying to do with our different trips there, is getting the correct balance, getting the right group dynamics there. Things like behaviour do become a factor with things like this when we do have a large number of students who want to trip when there is limited spaces there. So are there a number of factors there that are in play, and they are conversations that we have as SLT along with Mr. Forbes there to make sure that we've got the right dynamics there. As I've shared, there is no guarantee that anybody gets their first choice. We can't do that.
The big question there is 6, 7, 8, all for the same opportunity. How is a grade 6 going to get into a grade 7, 8 cohort potentially? So again, it's based on who we have signed up, and then different personalities that will work well together. Obviously, the chaperones that go along have a say in what those groups look like. And obviously we speak with our counsellors and we see if those learners would fit into a group like that. So the only grade 6 option is a challenging adventure, so that is an overnight, 4 nights, 5 days opportunity, and then Divers Down is the same.
So for challenging adventure, as DAA is one of the questions that actually come up here, we've capped it at 120 learners. For challenging adventure, there are a number of reasons for that, and one of the reasons, like 120 learners, and challenging adventures is an absolutely fantastic experience. I went to it myself a number of years ago, so I'm the staff member who Mr. Forbes was speaking about earlier on, who's going to talk to that. They're very professional, and it's an excellent opportunity and experience for our students, but more than 120 students is too many, and we want to be mindful of the amount of chaperones who we have there. We have a 1:10 ratio there. And so 120 students is the cap that we have. Challenging adventures themselves have a higher threshold than that, but we feel 120 is appropriate, and I'm not actually quite sure if we will reach that 120 student cap.
No, they are together. So we would have obviously different chaperones for the different age groups.
So for Divers Down, what we did last year actually was, I suppose it depends on the number of students in each grade who would like to go on that particular trip. What we did last year was, I think that we had a significant number of grade 6 students, so we had them together with a chaperone, and then we had our grade 7 and grade 8 cohort together with their chaperones. So we split it as equally as we could while they were on the trip. I suppose there are some unknowns for us right now because we don't know who's actually signed up for the different trips. So for Divers Down itself, it's 30 across the board. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that is, yeah. So the next question I think we've touched on as well in terms of friendships and that. We, again, as I've just said, I've obviously had high school just sign up on Friday, and I've already had friends coming to me saying, like, please make sure that we're both on that trip. Okay? And I can't do that. Obviously it's first come, first serve there, so I obviously have timestamps I can work with. But again, when we're balancing those groups there, we are limited to, and again, we don't necessarily know friendship circles and whatnot when they sign up. So we are not choosing those groups based on friends.
Yeah, so my perspective on this is, you, as parents, are spending a lot of money on these overnight trips or these international trips, okay? It's important for you to have the conversation with your child about which trip suits them as an individual, okay? I do understand middle schoolers do want to be with their friends, okay? But this is an excellent opportunity to learn outside the classroom, okay? To develop different relationships, both with other students and with teachers maybe from a different grade level who they do not know. So it is a wonderful opportunity for that personal development and personal growth of our students. Okay? I guarantee you, any student who does go on a trip will make connections with people who they did not before. Okay? And those are connections that will last with them through middle school and beyond. We see it every single year. Okay? So we do rely on you to have those conversations with your child, to sit down, look at the different options, and have a discussion about what works for you. What are you interested in? Do you really want to go to Nepal? Is that something that you want to do as an individual? Or would you be more interested in Divers Down because that is something that interests you? You like swimming, it's something that interests you, something you would like to get PADI certified. What actually works for you? Okay, so we would very much appreciate if you did have those conversations with your child so that they can make, and you can make, an informed decision about what is right for them as an individual.
Perfect, thank you. For the Challenging Adventure Camp, I'm going to leave this one. We've already spoken on it as well, but we are speaking at the end on that specifically.
Just the last piece there was the student-teacher ratio. So our student-teacher ratio was 1 to 10. Okay? If we are above 20 students, so it is between 20 and 30 students, we will have 3 chaperones. Okay? So that's just one thing that I wanted to clarify there as well. All trips.
No. Sorry, that was just from the website that a parent has to go with it. That is not the case.
What was the question?
So they were saying that on the website for Challenging Adventures, that mentioned that a parent needed to accompany the group on that trip. So that is not.
Sorry, one more question. Yes.
For the Challenging Adventures, will they be in rooms or tents?
Challenging Adventures is a tents.
Yes.
Yeah, so our students are in tents for Challenging Adventures. They love it. They do love it. First night, there's always that bit of apprehension. Of course, we do understand that. We live in Dubai. Our students have very comfortable lives and they're not used to sleeping in tents. However, after the first night, when they're in the tent with their friends, they have a great experience and they do really enjoy it. So, I think it's 4. I think it's 4.
I think so, yeah.
From memory, it's 4. Please don't quote me on that.
Yeah, we'll go through some more Challenging Adventure stuff at the end. Right. Specific schedule with timings would be great to have for all the days trips offered. Okay. So as soon as we get our groups together and they start meeting who their chaperones and that are, those itineraries and the specific details of them will be shared with the group as well as parents. Obviously, they'll be communicated in different ways, whether it's a Google Classroom that they set up or there are a number of different ways that teachers want to issue that.
So there's an example of the Stay Fit schedule from last year. So we envision a Stay Fit would be something similar this year, but that's just an example of the schedule last year. Mr. Forbes?
Yeah, so in fact all of those, the same providers are going to be working with us this year, so we could just replicate that and just send the different groups to the different spaces. We will share this presentation with families as well, in case I see a lot of people taking photographs. What provision will be made for children with nut allergies or halal? So all of our providers cater to the needs of children. Again, we want to provide the best opportunities and the best experiences for them. We do ask that those details be shared timelessly. So if we have those initial meetings, the chaperones will send out forms to be filled in with these requirements and expectations. So if you obviously have halal requirements, you need to be mindful of where in the world they are going. So we will find you a restaurant that has halal, but all the meals that are halal there might not be what your children want to eat. So we went to the UK last year with the high school and we went to a 4-star restaurant, but they only had a handful of halal options and it wasn't what they wanted to eat, so they didn't eat. So again, we will provide for you, but you want to be mindful that some cultures, obviously we will cater to the best that we can, but there are some that don't. For the overseas trips, what airline will the kids be travelling on? So we obviously use Star Alliance carriers. We obviously, as much as we try to get on Emirates. I know that for some of the local or the trips that use lower cost airlines, that we will not go anything other than fly Dubai. I think that there was one that was connecting somewhere with Qatar. I've spoken to the trip provider on that and they're going to come back to me with a direct flight. How do you sign up for the ES volunteering?
I'll take this one, yeah. So please add it as one of the 3 trip choices. And there's very limited space for this experience. I think last year we had 22, I think it was, ES volunteers. So there's a process for being selected for this particular experience. All students who choose it as a first choice will be sent a Google form where they share why they feel that they would be a good candidate for this experience, okay? And we want students who will actually add something to an elementary classroom, okay? So why they feel that they're a good choice. Then we also ask them to get a reference from one of our middle school teachers here in DAA as well, so that we have the reference from an adult as well who feels that they are responsible, who feels that they will add something to the classroom as well. So there's a timeline there as well. So, but the first step is, please put it down as your first choice on the interest form. And then we will send out a Google form to all students who put it down as their first choice. Now, I'm saying first choice because generally we always have more interest than we have spaces there. So we won't have to go to second and third choices there because it's always a very popular experience for our students and for our families. Yes? Teacher recommendation will be from a middle school teacher. Yeah. Any middle school teacher. As long as they know them.
What is the emergency contact information for trip leaders? So DAA we have, I don't know how many, 20 different phones that we send out with all of our trips. So they will be able to relay messages if an emergency comes. It won't, but if something happens, they will be able to contact you directly. Details of the trip providers themselves, they will share emergency contacts with you as well. Obviously, all of our candidates that travel with you, at least one of the travelers will be certified a first aider. And again, our trip providers have extensive insurance. Last year, our high school Mauritius trip went, and they were in the middle of a
tropical storm.
Yeah, tropical storm. Okay, and they were flown back. At no expense to the parents. That they felt it wasn't safe, so they brought them back. So the procedures are in place for anything that can happen.
Yeah, I'm conscious of time, so we'll go through these. Mr. Forbes, yeah. Yeah, so how communication handled between students and parents during the trip. This is always a big one for parents in particular. So students will not have direct communication with parents while on the trips. Students are not permitted to bring their phones on the trip, and there is, I can go on a whole ream of rationale for that. I'll take question in a second. Emergency contact will be available via the chaperone. Okay, so if your child is having a bad day, okay, and they feel that they want to get in contact with you, okay, we will ensure that they can get in contact with you. Okay? If you are having a bad day and you feel that you need to get in contact with your child, we'll see what we can do.
You can reach out to me.
We'll try and help you out there. There will always be a member of SLT placed in school who is a bit of a liaison between what's happening in all of the trips and you as parents as well. Okay, so everything has gone well every year. Okay? It's very important to foster that independence with our students. We do understand that it's a challenge for you as parents and for students as well, but we want it to be an immersive and an authentic and an enriching experience. Okay? So, please, yes?
What's the criteria that you choose these 5 particular destinations?
The criteria for the destinations?
I mean, educational criteria, financial, economic criteria, or I don't know.
So this year we've gone back. So we kind of went off of our vision over the last couple of years, and we kind of went away from service. So this year we've ensured that every single one of our trips that goes abroad has an element of service attached to it. So we are giving back as a community. We're giving to communities. We are doing more for people that are potentially less fortunate than us. Just quickly, one more thing on the communication. depending on the chaperone, they have different ways that they communicate, whether it is on a Google Classroom or they open up an Instagram page where they share photographs of the trips throughout the day. They will write little sort of messages in terms of that so that parents know exactly what is happening. My only thing is that they might not be around Wi-Fi and they might need to get back to camp to send that message out to people and those photographs, but you will always get an update daily. That is a great question. I think that what we've done in the past is we have asked parents to create a WhatsApp group for those trips, and then for one of those parents to be a liaison between the chaperone, and then that message can be passed that way. Yes, ma'am.
Asia. Thank you. In regards to Asia, when it comes to like Nepal and Thailand, I have this concern when it comes to the weather. As you said, there's a lot of tropical. How do do they check the weather? Are these things unpredictable?
So we obviously pay close attention to that. Our providers obviously have run trips for a number of years, and so this year we don't have Mauritius. Okay, so it was obviously something that it is their season for tropical storms. So we didn't want to risk it again. Our middle school went last year and had an amazing time, but we didn't want to risk the opportunity for that. So we are very careful when we are choosing our trips. We look at the weather sort of statistics over the last couple of years. We speak to providers in terms of when they run their trips and whether or not they've had issues in the past, and then we choose we base our decisions on that.
I think what we'll do, Mr. Forbes, is if there are any questions there that are general or trip specific, please use the QR code, and then when families are out speaking with the trip providers, what we'll do is we'll put our answers together so it's all there and ready to go. I'm just conscious that I want to get our trip providers there.
Thank you.
All right. This continuation of this question, I want to ask: should be a safety procedure and emergency response procedure in place by the service provider?
Yes, there is.
Which you have to announce once. You have to.
No, I appreciate that. So the question for those of you at home is what safety procedures and protocols have our providers got in place in case of an emergency? So we as a school are required to do a procurement on all of our trips and a risk assessment, and our providers have to do the exact same thing to fall under the GEMS umbrella. So they have done that. A lot of them have gone above and beyond. So for Abhishek and for the team from TWEDx as well, so Lush Escapes and TWEDx, both of those organizations travel to these destinations regularly to make sure that the hotels that they are using have procedures in place should anything happen, and they've got a plan of action for all of their destinations.
One final point on that, I suppose both GEMS and middle school and our trip providers, we do all that we can to control the controllables. Okay, there are sometimes things that are out of our hands, like the weather. There's very little we can do about that, and things do happen, and weather does change there. But if you're not comfortable sending your child on an international trip, if you're not comfortable doing it, then maybe that's not the best option for your child. Okay, so I think that that's something that you need to consider as a parent. Is this the right option for my child? Is this the right option for me? Am I comfortable in sending my child on an international trip yet?
It's not a matter of what we are comfortable or not. Of course we are comfortable. When we trust our child. But our child, should be under control. To be a safety procedure, emergency response, and control measures as well.
Look, our number one priority here of all of these trips is safety, and that is our number one priority. So before any of these trips even are considered, we do our risk assessment, and we make sure that they tick all of our boxes before we put them on and offer them to parents.
I'm a parent. Hello?
Give them.
Oh, hi. So I'm a parent of two kids, one in high school and one in middle school. My kids have been going to Week Without Walls for many years. Last year we were faced with a crisis with Mauritius, okay, and we thought the trip was going to be completely canceled. On the contrary, the school did everything they could to ensure that The trip goes on, it's safe, the communication was flawless, and I'm a very hands-on mom, so I was concerned. I cannot tell you how much our kids enjoy themselves. And safety-wise, trust me, they're safe. And the fact that they are canceling Mauritius' trip this year just shows that they will not risk anything. So please trust the process.
Of course, we trust our kids.
Thank you.
And, we are sure that they enjoy the trip 100%. Okay, but as parents, we need to know.
No, I understand.
Again, I'm just conscious of time, and if there are any questions you have individually, I'm more than happy to sit down and have a conversation with
Absolutely.
you.
Just quickly, in terms of medication, so each one of our trip leaders, or the trips, will have a first aid kit that they take with them. If you have any medication that needs to be taken by your child, please, that you will get an email, I suppose, towards the end of the year, the calendar year, with the details of that medication, so that they can go to our clinic, and the clinic can put it into the relevant first aid kits. And then the teacher will obviously have a timeline and hand out that medication as necessary. Yes, you may. Yes, you can.
Okay, so if a child becomes ill and needs to stay behind, one chaperone will stay with the child. Should the student be too unwell to continue the trip, and a parent needs to come and pick them up, that will be at the cost of the parent. Okay, so that is in the contract. That will be the cost of the parent. That's protocol that we have here for gyms.
Correct.
First aider. So as DAA protocol again, we need to have at least one trained middle school first aider chaperone. That's not including the trip providers, whoever they have as well. So there'll be at least one person from GEMS DAA who will be first aid trained as well on each international trip. Behavioural issues managed during the trip. It always starts with a restorative conversation. Okay, there is a strict behavioural policy there. You are asked to sign a conduct waiver there, and that will be given to you tomorrow night. It's also on the form when you fill it in. Our expectations are listed out on that there as well. Please read it, because we will be holding our students responsible to their behaviours and to their actions. Every day that they are here in school, they have an opportunity to show that they have the self-management skills to be positive trip members. While they are on the trip, some behaviours will be managed by the chaperones on the trip, presuming they do not put themselves or others in danger. We will be communicating with you as parents. That is generally done by the member of SLT, who is here in Dubai on the ground, who liaises with our head chaperone. And if there are any repeated or significant concerns, there will be that contact. Behaviours that jeopardise the health and safety of others, because the health and safety is the priority, parents may be asked to come and pick up the child from the trip early. And that again will be done at the parents' own cost.
Okay, can I book my child's ticket and pay for the hotel and other services through me? Okay, you cannot. So you will get a link, or you'll get a detailed explanation of how you go about making your deposit, as well as the final payment. So just to reiterate, so for the overseas trips there is a deposit required. For any of the local options, you pay the full amount on the 20th of September. The payments will have to be made via GEMS Connect, but your activity will be preloaded onto there. So when you click onto your GEMS Connect account and you click on activities, your Week Without Walls option will be there for you. You won't have to go search for it.
I think we've already spoken that one. So rooming lists are confirmed with the trip chaperones.
Okay, again, so I think you touched on this as well. If they can join the trip, we ask that you don't, simply because, so from an insurance point of view, you wouldn't be joined into our group. So anything that happened to you, we wouldn't be able to help you out.
We hope that it is a wonderful experience for your child. We also hope that it is a wonderful experience for you as their parent, and you enjoy the time apart, and you will very, very much be very happy to see them when they return on the 28th of February.
Okay, again, so any special requests, medical conditions, disabilities. So again, the medical conditions that we can assist with, we can issue medication if needed. We can obviously send constant information back to parents that require it. With regards to disabilities, if your child has a disability, that is a conversation that you need to have with us separate before trips are
So things that we are aware of, we have proactive communication with our families there, and we try and have those discussions about what trips we feel would best suit our individual students there and their needs.
Absolutely. Okay, can you tell me about visas, medicals, health requirements? Okay, so a lot of if you're traveling internationally, your tour providers will share that information with you, right? But it obviously doesn't hurt to sort of search on Google what the requirements are. A lot of the ones traveling to Africa, for instance, are not mandatory, they are optional. Obviously, being an African myself, malaria, depending on where you go in Africa, is something that I would adhere to. But again, your tour providers will share that information as soon as your groups have been selected and chosen. With regards to the visas, please communicate with them directly. So if anyone using Lush Escapes for any of the trips, they will facilitate the process with visas and whatnot. That might come at an extra cost in it, but it obviously takes you, the expectation is not for you. Yes?
So you would recommend kids take the vaccinations?
So come and speak to me about where you want to send your kid, and I'll tell you if he needs a vaccination. Okay? Only because I've travelled everywhere in Africa and I haven't, other than malaria. For me, that's important. Yeah. All right. Yes. Yes. They all do it for you. Lush Escapes will do it for you. Yeah. What happens in the events that you cancel your child's participation after payment?
So the short answer to this is anything that is done after payment, it is managed by the trip providers. So please make sure that you know their cancellation policy, and because all refunds, reimbursements, they're managed by those trip providers.
So what will happen, when you're about to click on your Gems Connect, there'll be a terms and conditions for payment on that link. I'll show you everything from 90 days to 30, all of those different timelines for them. Again, just the QR code for any questions that you potentially do have.
So for those of you who are still with us online on YouTube there, please scan the QR code and ask any questions that you have there, whether it's general or whether that's trip specific. And if it's a general question, we'll get back to it when everybody's back in the room. If you want to return back to the room after you've spoken with the trip provider, you do not need to come back. If you do have any questions afterwards,
if you put a question on the QR code, could you just put like the trip, if it's a specific one, put Thailand and the question that you have, rather than me trying to figure it out. I know I'm slow, but so you'll be given a confirmation within sort of 3 days of selection, and then that is the one that you'll pay for. If you are not happy with that one, on the 20th, no, I think I've given you 5 days. But if you are not happy with that selection, you can obviously approach us and we will either take you off that trip or find another alternative for you.
Mahesh, if you could please refresh there, because we've put up the QR code for the Week Without Walls website, so that both our families online and our families here have access to it. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Just a quick question here.
Slide 32, please.
In terms of dropping your kids at the airport and collecting them, you will be required to do that. But the school will not fetch, just because airplanes come in at different times.
So Mr. Forbes, now it's our providers.
Yes, perfect. So what I'm going to ask Ms. Moore if she can help the grade 8 Lush Escapes to take them onto those 2 classrooms that we've got downstairs. I will take the grade 7 Lush Escapes trips upstairs to those 2 classrooms. TWEDx for Sri Lanka is, as you go out the doors here, as you're about to go down, I'm not sure if you've seen where they sell popcorn or the shirts and whatnot have been there recently. That's where they're based. Anyone for Bear Grylls for grade 8s, as you go through the doors, you turn left, she's at the table just sitting there. Anyone for Absolute Adventures, if you want to go through the door at the top right hand side there, they're in the lobby over there. Anyone for Challenging Adventures, please remain here. Unfortunately for the viewers at home, that is the only information that they will get related to a trip right now.
But if there are any questions there, please put it onto the QR code, and then we'll try and get to it at the end. So we plan to come back, Mr. Forbes, at 7:30.
Yeah, if they want to, please, you don't have to come back. If you don't have any questions or you want to just fulfill the QR code questionnaire, that's perfectly fine. If you have any specific ones that you want to address to us, please come back at 7:30.
So what we'll do here is I'll speak to Challenging Adventures, and then if you've got grade 6 families, if you've got any questions, I'm more than happy to try and answer them in here.
Questions. Where can we find the questions that are added now to the QR if we don't come back? Is the question I'm wondering.
They will be, what we'll do is we'll add them to the Week Without Walls website page. Yeah, so we'll put them onto this presentation, but we'll also add them to the Week Without Walls website page, so it's there for everybody.
So we go now to the providers?
Yes.
And we ask them what
No, I've asked them not to present. I want you to have questions for them. So I don't want them to regurgitate what you've read on the website already. So if you have specific questions for them, please to go there.
If you want to hear about Challenging Adventures, you can stay here, please. This is the overnight grade 6, 4 nights Challenging Adventures. It's only grade 6. It's only grade 6, yeah. Yes. Based on my experience 2 years ago. I have some slides here to help me. So, Mahesh, Challenging Adventure slides, please. I think they're further down. There you go, slide 38. Thank you. So, as I had shared, I went on this experience 2 years ago, and I have to say, I was very, very happy with all aspects of the experience. From an educational perspective, be it from the providers who were there on the ground, the guides who were there, the activities that took place, the focus on safety. It was an absolutely wonderful experience. As a chaperone, and I know that our students who were there, they genuinely had a very enriching experience for the Challenging Adventures experience 2 years ago. It didn't run last year, which I was very disappointed about, because genuinely for a grade 6 student, this is perfect. It really is. It's an hour and a half, 1 hour 30 minutes up the road, your child is not that far away from you. There's that safety aspect for them there as well, knowing that they're not that far away from mom and dad. You know, if something does happen or if something does go wrong, which anything could happen at any point, but you know, generally it doesn't happen. But just for that safety and psychological safety perspective for our students, it's a great trip for our grade 6 students. Where do they stay? They stay in the camp. It's in the Ras Al Khaimah Mountains. They stay in large tents, and as I said before, from memory, it's 4 or 5 students per tent. The date is the 24th to 28th, and the duration is 4 nights, 5 days. So they will leave here on Monday, and they will return on Friday after. They have a very good working relationship with us here in DAA. It is a unique location. It's about 15 minutes from Ras Al Khaimah city. Their ethos is to make the best possible use of their natural surroundings for activities, thereby allowing students to experience a wonderful and different world that exists outside of the city environment. And they genuinely do that. Okay? They keep our students busy. Okay? There is that little bit of downtime in the evening, okay, which is fine. When I was on the trip, students were given 45 minutes at the end of the evening, 45 minutes to an hour, talk to their friends, do whatever they want to do with their friends. They were also given that bit of time in their tent to talk and do whatever it is that they wanted to do in the tent, and then have their lights out. But everything was very, very well structured. There was a great schedule there for them, and they were always kept very busy, whether that was daytime activities or even nighttime activities. One of my favourite things that we had done there was we took them out for a walk in the evening, and they were looking at the different constellations. And we were having conversations about the different constellations there, and our provider, or the guide, gave information and was telling stories and everything, and our students genuinely loved it. They're still in grade 6, and they really do love those things. You know, sometimes they behave a little bit older than they actually are, but they are still grade 6 students, and it's a perfect experience for them. Qualified and experienced instructor staff. Yes? Last year, there weren't enough sign-ups for it. For something like this, you're looking at 20 students would be your minimum. Yeah, so for the providers, it needs to be worthwhile. For the providers, they also need to make, you know, they're trying to run a business there as well, so like 20 providers would be the minimum. Yeah. As I shared, I was very disappointed that it didn't happen last year. It says they're qualified and experienced instructor staff. That's true. Okay, they are very qualified, they are experienced, and they're fantastic with our grade 6 students. With that particular age group, they're wonderful with them. What activities and students will they be doing? Aqua Olympics, giant, you can all read that, giant SPV board, Via Ferrata, mountain survivor, low ropes, archery, mud and clay, leadership development tasks, castle guards, an obstacle course, and some advanced wilderness survival. What they do is they see what group of students they have in front of them, and they change the activities depending on the needs of the students that they have there. Okay? So there will be different trip leaders there who would be doing different things with the students depending on what their interests are or what their level of ability is. Okay, so they do cater to the needs of different groups there. Value for money, and there's an easy booking process there as well. And the food's good too, I have to say. So the question was, is there a community element to it? And yes, there is. On top of the hillside, there's a majlis there, and our students do a trek up to it, and then they get a talk about what happens in the meetings that happen in there, and they get a bit of history of the local area as well. So there is that community aspect to it too. Yeah. So that was my best effort at selling challenging adventures to you. Genuinely, and I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it, I do think it's a great experience for our grade 6 students. If I was a parent of a grade 6 student, I would be seriously considering this trip, because it isn't overnight. There is that amount of independence there, but you're not too far away from your parents, and you're not too far away from Dubai. Yes? Toilets and shower situation are, they're quite basic. It's covered. It's flushing toilets. It's I wouldn't say hot showers, but there are showers there. They lukewarm showers, from memory. They were lukewarm, but you know, that's all part of the experience. You know, and funnily enough, with grade 6 students, that's what they come home talking about. Like, that's what they get excited about, because they don't experience that. You know, so that's a big part of it too. Yeah. Any other questions on challenging adventures that I will try my very best to answer? Yes? I'll come to you, hold on. So the question was, what is the procedure for registration? So the link will go live at 8:30 p.m. tomorrow evening, and then you put in your first, second and third choices for your child's experience, what they would like to do for their goals. So that's the first part of it. And then I'll show you the timeline here, which may be helpful. Year 4 there, please. Thank you. Yeah, number 4. So the registrations go live tomorrow evening. On Thursday, the registrations close. Okay? And it is not first come, first serve. So any time between, if somebody's on at 8:30 tomorrow evening, doesn't mean that they have first choice ahead of you. If you go on at 11:59 on Thursday. Monday, confirmation of trips will be sent to families via email. That'll be Monday evening. And then on Friday, the following week, deposits are due. For international trips, it's deposits. Anything for local trips, it's the full amount on the Friday. Yes? So if somebody only has one choice, so one of the things that we've actually specifically asked on the form, if your child wants to do challenging adventures, we ask them not to put down challenging adventures, challenging adventures, challenging adventures, because we're going to put them to the bottom of the list. So please put down challenging adventures, maybe school stay, or school stay and something else. If they only want to do one thing, please don't put it down 3 times. If it's challenging adventures, there's a Meraki art, yes. So please put down a second and a third choice as well. And you should, please put 3 separate choices there. I understand that, but what we're asking is, so it's the same thing for an international trip, for example. If a student puts down Nepal 3 times, there's 30 spaces on the trip, but we've got 50 students who want to go on that trip. That person will be at the bottom of the list because they haven't followed the expectations. The expectation is that each person fills out 3 separate choices. That's what the expectation is. So, to avoid disappointment, I would strongly suggest that they would put down, if it's Meraki art, first choice, and then pick a second and a third choice, because they may not get their first choice, because we cannot guarantee that everybody will get their first choice. I hope that helps. Yes? Yeah, so there's a little bit of... Yes, so there's always the school stay option there. Yeah, so if a student doesn't put down anything, by default, they are put into the school stay program. Yeah, they go to school stay program. So if they don't choose anything, it's school stay program, and then that will be a conversation with individual families then. If we do have spaces in other trips, we would say, here are options that we do have. Would you be interested in taking one of those options? Because we do want students to have an experience, The school stay program is very good. However, we do want to fill up as many different experiences as possible, so our students have the option of going somewhere else other than school stay. Yeah. There we go. So the local providers, Divers Down, Challenging Adventures, who I spoke to there, and Absolute Adventure, is the only one of those other than Challenging Adventures that's for grade 6 students. So Bear Grylls and Absolute Adventures is grade 7, and Bear Grylls is grade 8.
Yeah.
Divers Down is here, yes. So that would be the chaperone choice. So the chaperone would have a look at the list of students who they have. They will have the conversation with the students who they would say, who would you like to room with? But again, there's no guarantee that students will get to room with who they want to room with. For example, you may have 5 friends and 3 of them put each other down and 2 of them are not put down. And there's 3 spaces. And that can be a bit of a challenge there, but that's how it works. So if there's only 3 spaces, we can put 5 people into 3 spaces. So it's a bit of a jigsaw there, but our chaperones work with both students and with families to make sure that everybody feels safe and comfortable and that they're looking forward to the experience. There'll be gender specific groups. Yeah. Yes. Definitely. I can guarantee you that. That will be communicated to you. So that'll be it'll be communicated either by the chaperone or by your lawyer. Yeah. Thank you.
Because I think they're going to come back at 7:30 for everybody who. There's probably no screen that says we'll be back live at 7:30. Is there a screen we can make that says we'll be back at 7:30? Unless it was part of our screen. It's a good one. Tanya, can you make, I'll text it to you.
Okay. You want to screen now?
Make a screen that says, rejoin session. Show that, and you can move on until some couple months. Slide 39, Mahesh, please. says 3,600. You like that? Yes, the kids love it, or the parents love it, the kids don't like it. Yeah, yeah. That's true. Yeah, look, it was written for us, so we had a good, it was, she's a millennial. We said, you guys ought to do this. I know, it was insane. I don't know. I don't know about here. Well, back in the States, it's like 18 months. It's Indian school. No, yeah, every once in a while, people show up, but so that's very reminiscent of the well, thanks for helping us out there, too. Yeah. Yeah, you were up halfway because that was the church I was thinking of something. You don't know. No. Yes. Just put the money away in your pocket. You said it all. Yeah.
Alone, she went on her own. Me, and they can bow to her. I swear I'm sure not. I know. It's been to check the data.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
See ya.
So yeah, Brock and his mom, for sure. It's gonna be like those dad is doing like those. Sometimes, yeah. No, she's in grade 5. CD, keep them. No. How bad is it? What? Oh, for sure. Got to.
I gave it right back.
Thank you. Yeah.
Take care.
Bye.
Mahesh,
Yeah.
I'm in your online.
What?
3 or 0? Circle. I think we shut it down. Nobody's here. Wait 1 minute. 2 minutes. We'll wait 2 minutes. should be, like, I was in Nepal years ago, so if you waited until you got back to camp and you upload, yeah, a couple times a day. So it's multiple times a day. It's not like exactly. On a hash?
Yep.
I don't think the mic.
It's on it.
Check, check. Check, 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 check.
Check the back side.
There we go. Can you put on the QR code screen?
Do you know how it is?
There we go. 33, please. Nope. 33. There we go. So for those of you who are online, obviously we are answering questions to people that came back at 7:30. If there are questions that you still have outstanding about any trip, since this is a YouTube live link, we are not able to interact with you. So please make sure you scan this code. That way that will go to the form, and a member of our team will be able to get back with you and answer those questions on, it's a slideshow that we're going to be sending out. Thank you.
Or is that just tomorrow? I'm saying like 8:30 tomorrow, so that can have everything. Right? That'll have registration open, and also have this presentation. So you don't have to send 50,000 emails. That sounds good. So is it, we have everything crafted and ready to go? And then so we'll just add this link on there because they've gone through, they've updated it. And that's smart ahead of back to school night. So they have tons of questions. Mahesh?
Yep.
Done?